Hello, student. How are you? It might be a good time for you to spend, make a field trip outside of school campus. And then I heard that you spent a good Friday and Saturday when you participated in ASEAN camp. It might be a good opportunity for you to think more on what is the main purpose of this AIMS program to experience within a network of ASEAN community. Okay. Anyway, I provide a special lecture for you to materialize your business concepts into a kind of business project in action. So let's go to PowerPoint slide, and then I'd like to continue my lecture about the global business development. Okay. Mm. Today's special topic is about the global business development in within the environmental area of ASEAN communities, and especially focused on. I'd like to introduce the business model, the business canvas model, and then how to utilize this kind of business canvas model when you try to make your business project concrete. Okay, today's topic is about first lecture is about the globalization and global entrepreneurship, and the more than anything, so I'd like to encourage you, the students, to make a startup or global entrepreneurship uh, among your global partnership or network. So I'd like to introduce you the concept of globalization of business in one part, and then on the part, mindset. Mindset of globalization is also important. So I'd like to show you the globalization of mindset, and then there are three steps of your evolution of your mindset as a business manager. And finally, I'd like to try to narrow down the area into the ASEAN region, and then what kind of opportunities in the Asian region to make a startup in that region. And the second lecture is about a design thinking perspective of global business development. More than anything else, even though I'd like to introduce you the concrete framework of a business design model, but more than anything else, as a student, as a young man and woman, you yourself have to think more about the business concept. Developing business concept is more important than materializing those concepts into reality. So, what kind of business concept? Design thinking is a abstract and the conceptual thought about the business. What kind of items could be feasible in these areas? I mean, they're focused on the ASEAN areas, something like that. So, what is the design thinking? And then there are two approaches of a concept, developing a concept of a business. One is the international relations approach, and the other one is business development approach, which is newly introduced. So I try to figure out the difference between international relations versus business development approach. And finally, I'd like to show you how to apply business canvas model into developing your business in reality. Okay, first lecture, main focus of the lecture is the globalization. Once again, I'd like to share the concept of globalization with you. And then there are two aspects of globalization. One is globalization of business as a business manager. But the second one is globalization of mindset as a business manager. So at the lecture one, I'd like to make us stress of the importance of the globalization of business itself. And the other one is a mindset. Globalized mindset. Mindset is also important to implement your business concept in reality. And finally, I'd like to narrow down the scope into the Asian region, and then what kind of business opportunities in Asian region could be feasible when you try to make a startup or when you try to make a global entrepreneurship in Asian region. Okay, first, I'd like to talk about the business globalization of business. According to textbook reference, that globalization is an intense economic, political, and personal interconnectiveness. So, in one aspect of globalization contains the concept of interconnectiveness. And another textbook says globalization is a situation of the broadening set of interdependent relationship. So, whether in the form of connectiveness or interdependent relationship, what is certain is that interactivity among people from different parts of the world could be more intense and intense as a result of globalization. So naturally, as a result of this kind of globalization, as a result of this kind of interactivity among people from different parts of the world, there might be a problem of discrepancy, or there might be the problem of different aspects or different approaches, something like that. So how to deal with this kind of differences or discrepancies within the frame of globalization? The international business textbook says you have to accommodate those kind of heterogeneities. You have to accommodate those kind of differences rather than to discriminate one against each other. So, in a way of harmonized approaches could be the main approaches to accommodating globalization of business. And it also the term sometimes refers to the elimination of barriers. So free movement of goods, services, or human resources or capital, that is also the situation of globalization. So what? As a result of this kind of widening areas, widening scope of business, as a manager, so you have to have an eye of how to expand your inclusive accommodation into your business model. That is the key point you have to know when we report to the globalization of business. As a business manager, you have to know the situation, the scope of your business could be wider as a result of globalization. So when you try to accommodate, when you try to include the wider scope of your business, there might be a problem, business problem. You have to get in harmonized terms with the differences among people from different part of the world. And then rather than to make a discrepancy approaches, or rather than to excluding approaches, you have to including those kind of differences, and then you have to accommodate those kind of differences, and then turning those kind of differences into a main engine of growth in your business. That is a concept of globalization of business. As a manager, you have to tackle with those kind of differences. And then what is the international business? International business refers to all commercial transactions, including sales, investment, and even transportation that take place between two or more countries. So again, while globalization is a situation, globalization is a environmental changes when you make a business model, then international business is um, implementing those kind of globalized situation in the real world. That is international business. What you have to do within a globalized environment is the international business. You have to make all commercial transactions by way of sales, investment, transportation, and other ways. And then there are two types of international business. One is international trade. by way of selling goods or services, or by way of purchasing goods or services from different part of the world, you could make a business opportunity within the framework of globalization. And another type is international investment by way of transferring capital from one country to the other as a result of transactional assets and capital, you could make a business opportunities as well. And we already know that there are two types of international investment. One is foreign direct investment, and the other one is foreign portfolio investment. Foreign direct investment, and the other one is foreign portfolio investment. Here, you have to know the difference between foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. Even though the international investment is a situation of transferring or a transaction of capital from one country to the other, from one capital market to the other capital market. But there is a difference between foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. In case of foreign direct investment, as a capital owner, you got a full controllability, you got a full decision power to make when we report the operation of your own capital. That is foreign direct investment. As a capital owner, you got a full liability, and then you got a full license to make a decision in operating your capital. That is foreign direct investment. Whereas in case of foreign portfolio investment, even though you are a capital owner, you do not make a power to control over your capital, rather than you yourself have to delegate or replace your power of decision to the other part, to the third party, so-called agency. So by way of a third party, by way of agency, just to lend your money to the agency, and then the agent got a full power to control over your own capital. That is for portfolio investment. If the third party or the agent to control your own money, that is mainly financial institute. So as an agency, financial institute, they make a control. They made a decision of your own money. That is foreign portfolio investment. So whether in the form of foreign direct investment or foreign portfolio investment, that is one of ways you make commercial transactions to earn a business opportunity or a business profit within the frame of a globalized market. So by way of selling goods or services in the market, that is international trade, you could make a business opportunity, or by way of transferring capital, you yourself, or controlling by yourself, or controlling by agency, a third party, you could make a business opportunity in the globalized world. That is the international business. So globalization is a situation of environmental change, widening areas of your business scope. International business refer to the action and or implementing activities of your business strategy in reality. That is an international business. So when we refer to globalization as an environmental change, international business is an activity within an environment. That is the difference between the concept of globalization as part of the environmental change and international business implementing activities within the environment. That is international business. And here, quite recently, one of changes in the form of international business is born global or born digital. You know that there are stages, there are kind of incremental approaches of international business, so-called Uppsala model. According to Uppsala model, which is designed by the Uppsala University, there are four incremental approaches, the step-by-step approaches of international business. On the average, most companies, they start up their business as a domestic-oriented business at the initial stages. When you start up your business, when you operate newly a market restaurant, then it is mainly focused on the domestic market. There's a domestic business. And after that, going over to export-oriented business and move to the localized business and finally globalized business. So domestic-oriented, export-oriented, localized-oriented, and then global business-oriented. This is a kind of step-by-step approach when you refer to the evolution and then expanding international business within the framework of business. There is a traditional approach which is designed by the Uppsala University. But quite recently, which is quite different from this kind of incremental approaches, newly started business, they jump to the global business rather than skipping domestic business, skipping export-oriented, skipping localized-oriented. Directly, even you start a global business, but go to the global business, so-called born global companies or born digital companies. So again, then when you initiate your business as a startup, mainly you yourself have to make a prior investment to make a physical equipment or establishment or something like that. You have to make a contract, the offices or the factories, something like that. But without this kind of physical presences, then in the virtual areas that you make a pop-up store or app store in the internet site, there is the Born Digital. So quite recently, due to the evolution of a Born Global or Born Digital, which means that international businesses, everybody's can. So traditional approaches, I mean, that according to Uppsala model, international business is a next stage of the domestic business. Once you start up your business, go to the domestic business, domestic-oriented business, and then after that, moving toward the export-oriented business. So I mean that international business. This is a classical approaches of international business. But nowadays, without skipping domestic-oriented business period, jumping directly go to the global business when even you just start up your new business operation. There is a new trend. How could this kind of born global or born digital could be possible nowadays? Definitely, there is due to internet technology or internet communication technology, something like that. So with the development of a digital economy, digital technology, now without disregarding the incremental approaches, you yourself have to directly, could be possible to go to the global strategies nowadays. So from this kind of new trend, or what you could get, that even your small size and then a very short history of your business, you could think more on the international perspectives. According to traditional approach, when you think about the international business, you have to have a large size of your business sales volume or and then company history might be longer than 10 years or 20 years or something like that. But nowadays, that is not a matter of point, and then that is not a matter of concern. You got an idea, and then you could go directly to the international business. But even though as a result of globalization, I mean the environmental change of globalization and technical change of globalization with the help of digital technology, you go directly to the global business. But there is another concern of a point you have to know. There is a globalization of a mindset. As a businessman, your mindset, here the mindset is a kind of a routine of your business decision making, could be kind of incremental steps. First one is ethnocentric mind, and then go to the polycentric mind, and finally, a geocentric mind. Even though with the help of digital technology, born global company, born digital company, do not care about the size of the business, do not care about the length of business. You could go into the global startup, but uh, on the other hand, as a business manager, mindset of globalization is far from reality. I mean, the mindset of globalization still need to take steps. As a first step, ethnocentric. Ethnocentric means home country is the best practice. Home country is the best situation. I mean, the best environment of your business. And then believe home people more than the foreign people. That is an ethnocentric mind. When you start up your business, that normally speaking, the people tend to have an ethnocentric mind. So as a ethnocentric manager, when you start your business, try to fill key management position, key management task with the home country nationals. And then home country is the central business, home country is the best practice, and then home people is the best person to believe, something like that. There is a ethnocentric mindset. And then when you're moving on to export oriented and then local oriented, then your mindset transformed into the polycentric mindset. Rather than home country, host country is more reliable. Host country is more important than home country market. There is a polycentric mind. So when you're moving on to ethnocentric mindset to the polycentric mindset, as a manager, you tend to need more, you tend to pay more attention on the host country. Here, the host means foreign country, and then try to fit all the things for the host country differences and try to transform and then modify, adjust all the business models for the host country, I mean the foreign country. So in that case, host country is the best practice, and then host country is the center of business, and then host country people is the person that I believe. And then that I satisfy. So use host country nationals to manage local subsidy, and then host country are the central business gravity, and then host country step is the person to make a partnership, something like that. There is a polycentric mind, but as it goes further, then I try to combine the global mindset, so-called geocentric mindset. Geocentric mindset try to combine what kind of a part of my business could be standardized with the home country format, and then what kind of things should be changed fit for the host country situation, something like that. So geocentric mind is the kind of stereotype mindset as a global manager have to have. That what things should be standardized in line with the domestic market, and then what kind of things should be changed and modified and even adjusted for for foreign country market, and then try to combine all together. And then there is a global mindset, so-called geocentric mindset. So here, the point is that even though with the development of digital technology, even though with the development of digital platforms, something like that, born global or born digital could be possible skipping domestic-oriented business, skipping export-oriented business. When you start up your business, jumping to the global business could be possible nowadays due to the globalization with the development of digital technology. But as a business manager, your mindset got a step by step approaches. Your mindset could not jumping toward the geocentric mindset directly. You have to experience ethnocentric mindset from the beginning, and then your mindset have to change it from the geocentric mind. From the ethnocentric mind to polycentric mind, and finally, you may arrive at the geocentric mindset. So, as a business manager, your mindset have a tendency to this kind of step-by-step approaches. You yourself have to make practice and then try to widen your mindset, going directly to the geocentric mindset. That is one point you have to know. And then I try to figure out the difference between the classical framework of international business with the recent framework of international business. According to classic framework of international business, basically they focused on three things. First, non-economic factor is also a factor of environmental analysis. That as an environment, there are two factors. One is economic factors, and the other one is non-economic factors. And then as a marketing manager, as a business manager, you may focus more on the economic factors, and then even you disregard the non-economic factors. But according to international business perspective model, you have to pay more attention on the non-economic factors, and then try to figure out the differences of non-economic factors from one country to the other country. That is one of approaches. As a step one, you have to know as a business manager, there exist non-economic factors, and typical examples of non-economic factors such as cultural differences or racial differences or religious differences or system differences from the home country and domestic, from home country and host country, something like that. That is one of our approaches as a step one. And after that, you have to focus on directly to the economic factors. Here, the economic factor is closely linked with the economic performance, something like a financial performances or sales performances, something like that. Mainly economic factor is a combination of market factors, something like who is your customers, and who is your competitors, and then who could be your suppliers, and then who could make a partnership with you, and then who could make a rivalry with you, something like that. That is economic factors. And then as a result of this kind of environmental analysis, you have to find out a way to how to enter into the market. This is a strategy building, and then how this kind of strategy focused on how to enter the market. There is a formation. So classical framework of international business focused on the non-economic factors, and after that economic factors, and then as a result of environmental analysis, and then finally set of entry strategy setting, and then implementing this kind of entry strategy in reality. That is the classical framework of international business. But nowadays, international business focused on the step three. Even though economic factor is very important, but you have to think more on when you succeed in entering into the foreign market. The other thing you have to count in on is how to develop your business project, and then what kind of business project could be feasible, and then even with the help of this project, you could make a good communication with the foreign country or foreign community. That is one of point the international business manager have to pay more attention. This is a three part of international business. One is the non-economic factor, and then second one is economic factor, and lastly, how to develop your business project to implement your entry strategy, in the foreign countries. And then, normally speaking, the non-economic factor is a source of cost sector. So when you're doing your business in the international market, then non-economic factor is the major source of cost sector. So when you cannot manage, you cannot control this kind of non-economic factors, it will increase the cost of business, which means the liability of foreigners. And second one, how to control the economic factors. That is the point of governance, how to make a decision within your controllability. That is the main point of approach to the economic factors. And lastly, what kind of business could be feasible when you succeed in entering this strategy in the foreign market? Here is two things: doability and durability of your business in the foreign market. That is a thing you have to consider when you start up your international business. As a managers, you have to think this kind of three part from these three approaches. As a result, I'd like to briefly remind you, traditional international business manager, they have to think two ways. One is environmental analysis, and the other one is entry strategy setting. And the environmental analysis is a combination of non-economic factor and economic factor. And then when you do not tackle with non-economic factors properly, you may face the increased cost of your business. So as a way to minimize your cost of operating cost of your business, you have to properly tackle with the non-economic factors. And next is that you have to gain your core competence in the foreign market to analyze the economic factors. This is mainly market and government. So when you analyze the government and market, you know how to control those kind of economic factors. And after that, entity strategy setting and traditional international business approach shows you there are four types of international business according to IR matrix: international strategy, multi-domestic strategy, and then global strategy, and finally transnational strategies, something like that. So this is a traditional way of approaching international business. But nowadays, new approaches comes on. Try to combine when you design your business, combine the concept of a social impact or social contribution. So rather than sales value, quite recently, how to connect a social value with designing your business. This is a new trend, so-called global business development perspective. So quite recent framework of global business development, equally likely three steps: non-economic factors, and then economic factors, and designing global business project design. Exactly the same, but the approach might be different. Rather than just a cost sector, that it might be a source of innovation that when you tackle with the non-economic factors, it is not just the cost sector of your doing business, but it could kind of gain opportunity or gain advantages due to the innovation from the diversity. So as a source of innovation, you have to face with the non-economic factors in the foreign countries. That is one of different approaches. And the economic factors, just controlling governance or controllability. of the market and the controllability of the economic factors, that is the traditional approach. But nowadays, how to make a linkage with different market, different foreign market, how to make a synergy effect among global markets. That is a market efficiency. So this is a global business development perspective, which is different from the traditional classical international business perspective. And finally, then global business project, global business development, they focus more on the contributing to the local community, how to change the international market or foreign market with the framework of my business model. My business model have to make a mission, a corporate mission to increase sales value, but also got a social mission to increase the level of life of quality in the foreign market. So rather than durability and durability of my business in the foreign market, I have to think more on how to affordable and how to sustainable my business in the foreign market, how to make a contribution, how to I could give advantageous opportunity into the social community. That is one of the things which is different from the traditional international business perspective. That is global business development approaches. So traditional international business approaches, they only focused on entry, and then they only focused on durability and durability in the foreign market. But recent approaches of global business development, they think more on the how to generate a social value, how to make a commitment for the social contribution in the local country, and then by way of my business model, I might change the society in the local community, I mean the foreign market, for the advancement. That is the recent framework of global business development. Now let's get into the ASEAN region. Is there opportunities in the ASEAN region? Yes, of course, there is an opportunity, but there is also risk factors. You already know ASEAN is a 10 member states. The Brunei, Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Laos, PDR, and then Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. And the ASEAN emblem looks like this, and then it's composed of blue, red, yellow, something like that. And then ASEAN emblem represents a stable, peaceful, and united dynamic ASEAN. The color of the emblem, blue, red, white, and yellow, represent the main colors of the state crest at the ASEAN member states. Blue represents peace and stability. Red depicts courage and dynamic. White shows purity. Yellow symbolizes the prosperity, something like that. And ASEAN motto is one vision, one identity, one community. They try to give a stress on the unified region, unified system, unified community. There is ASEAN motto. And then ASEAN Day is August 8th, is also the ASEAN Day. Now, what is the risk factors in ASEAN? One of factors is a diversity of religion. There are too many religions in ASEAN countries, and then even though this kind of diverse religion could be opportunity, but mainly it might be a source of risk factors in a community. There are too many different religions like this. And another task as ASEAN community, they have to tackle with gender inequality between men and women, it is not equally likely social status, then there is a discrepancies and then inequalities, income inequalities, and then opportunity inequalities, educational inequalities, something like that. One of the issues we have to tackle it. And another issue is racial issues, something like Mindanao cases. That the racial issues, race against races, they got a chronic and traditional kind of racial conflicts among communities in Asia. That is one thing you have to tackle with. But comes to when it comes to the economic factors, there are many opportunities in Asian countries more than anything else. There are growth momentum chances in Asia. There are many Asian countries, and then there are super talented potentialities in Asian countries. So in 2021, overall the trend was widely shared in this region, and not to mention of South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and even developing Asia. They also got a strong sign of economic growth. And quite recently, one of companies, TSMC, Taiwan province of China company, they are big star. I mean that big power in the semiconductor supply chain, something like that. So this could be an evidence in Asian countries. There is a huge opportunistic chances among Asian member countries, something like that. And then narrow down into the concept of business potentiality, business opportunity into industry sectors. You know, the hospitality business is the center of gravity. And then here is the data. Visitors arrival, I mean, is an indicator of tourism, volume of tourism industry. And then within the Asian countries, Malaysia and Thailand, here, Malaysia and Thailand, among Asian member countries, they are at the advantageous point. And not only the Asian member countries, but also around the world. Then Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam, they got a strong edge in tourism or hotel, and then F&B, something like that. So international visitors gather into Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam among ASEAN countries. So when you see the difference between two figures, then ASEAN market, ASEAN tourism industry, Malaysia, and then Thailand is the center of whole. But global perspective, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam is the center of whole. There's a global competitiveness in Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam as far as the international tourism industry is concerned. And among Asian members, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand, the weight of industry out of total GDP, the weight of industry, travel and tourism contribution is more, and then more weight in Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. So especially Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines, the portion of the tourism industry out of total GDP is more heavily dependent on the tourism industry. It's like this. And another chances is a timing is due to COVID-19, tourism industry, I mean the broadly hospitality industry, including tourism, restaurant, hotel, something like that. This kind of hospitality industry shrank become smaller and smaller due to COVID-19 pandemic. But aftermath of pandemic rebound, that Asian country is a more opportunity than other areas in terms of hospitality industry. That is why the foreign direct investment into Asian countries in the service sector, mainly focused on the hospitality sector, portion is 66.9%. And then, not to mention of this kind of hospitality industry, manufacturing industry also huge investors try to make an investment into ASEAN region. It's a 25.7% of foreign direct investment focused on the ASEAN country by way of foreign direct investment into the making a production facility. And another indicator is a selected indicator of ASEAN member state economy. Overall rate of growth in ASEAN countries around 5% of growth. It is a marvelous figure that ASEAN country is a rapidly growing industry. And then even though some member countries, they show a different sign, but on the average, they shows that it is expected 5% of economic growth within the area. And then especially travel industry and food and health industry, this kind of hospitality industry, even though e-commerce market, that this kind of hospitality industry shows a strong sign of economic growth. But there is a obstacles to continuous maintain this kind of continuous economic growth, especially from the social perspective, equitability, education, and then inclusive development, and then environment, religion, and poverty, gender, health, something like things. One of missions for the advanced society in ASEAN countries. And depending upon the reason among ASEAN countries, poverty widely is almost all ASEAN member countries. Number one social problem would be poverty, health, and disaster, something like this. So this kind of social burden could be a kind of a business way to localize your business or to make a social contribution in Asian countries. Okay, this is all for the first lecture, and then let's take a short break, and after that, I'll continue my lecture.